To Nick Schick's family, welcome back to another episode. I'm doing a quick recap of yesterday's game. The Knicks defeated the Grizzlies, excuse me. That was a good game, honestly. It was very much playoff-like atmosphere where the Knicks were down the entire game and they were able to come back in the fourth quarter where they finally did outscore Memphis. And honestly, I like the vibes of that game. I like the flow of that game. The Knicks never seemed like they didn't have control, even though considering they were down the first three quarters, right? But I like the effort. I like the hustle plays. And you know what? The bench came in clutch. I don't know if it's the Mitchell Robinson rejuvenation, having him back on the team. Mitchell Robinson actually looks really good, I thought. Um, I've said this before. He's going to need time to be able to gather his bearings and be able to get his conditioning back up. But listen, he was running up and down that floor. He was a threat in the paint. He used those long arms with that wide wingspan. He still looks very much strong. And he looked happy to be back also. So that was another great thing that I like that I saw as well. But just seeing the vibe, the whole aura of that game, I never once felt like, I don't know if the Knicks are going to be able to close this one out. And I actually heard the commentator say that the Knicks are one of the top teams in clutch games, closing out games in the last 5 minutes of games, which is very much true. But I thought the Knicks, for the most part, had Memphis on their heels. And honestly, from looking at the matchup so far, from when the Knicks first faced Memphis the first time and defeated them by 37 and then faced them the last time, the Knicks actually look like they have Memphis number, right? While Memphis was looking to get revenge against the Knicks, I just thought that the Knicks pretty much had that one in the bag. And I never once was panicking or getting concerned that the Knicks wouldn't be able to close that game out because they absolutely looked like they had control in that game, which was a good thing to see. I was happy to see the Knicks put forth that effort. This is what I'm looking for from the Knicks. OG Ananobi, I thought he had a nice game coming back. He had 19 points. Josh Hart had 12.6 assists. Carl Anthony Towns, a quiet game from him. He had 11 points. Jalen Brunson, clutch again, 23.6 assists, 7 rebounds. I think those assists can go up, if you ask me. Mikal Bridges had 15 points. Mikal Bridges was pretty clutch in the mid-range shots. I thought he gave us the middies. He was off from the three, but listen, utilize what works. Keep shooting those mid-range shots. I'm not mad at you for that. Deuce McBride. I've been calling for Deuce McBride to wake up, to come alive, do what you do, best young man. And I thought Deuce played a hell of a game. Deuce couldn't miss. They weren't and the great thing about it, Deuce was the X factor, so they weren't expecting him to do that. And this is why I say you need guys like Deuce. You need guys like Shaman. You need guys like Payne to come off the bench and be contributing factors. And I thought Deuce McBride did just that for the Knicks, giving them 17 points. He was shooting the hell of a shot from beyond the arc. And again, I noticed this from the top of the season with Deuce. Deuce has worked on his shot. He's worked on his three. He's worked on his mid range. And listen, if you're getting contributions from Deuce McBride like this, OG and Mikel, the Knicks are in a good spot. The Knicks are in a good spot. To be honest, I'm not even mad that Carl Anthony Towns didn't have an explosive game. He didn't need to because now you have Mitchell Robinson back. You had contributions, excuse me, from OG Ananobi, Deuce McBride. And I'm not even going to look over Shamit. He only had 5 points, but it's the manner and the way he contributed those 5 points. He hit a clutch 3-point shot that the Knicks needed. Campaign hit a clutch 3-point shot that put them back in the game. I think it gave them the 1 point lead at some point in the fourth quarter. So this is what I mean. You need guys that's coming off the bench to add value to the game. It can't just fall heavily on the starters. It can't. It can't just fall heavily on the starters. You need guys coming off the bench and adding value. And I thought that between Cam, Shamit, Deuce, Precious Achua as well, who only had 3 points, but I thought he did a good job boxing out, getting boards for the Knicks. And then you had Mitchell Robinson, who has 6 points, 4 rebounds. And Mitchell Robinson, like I said, he looked really good. He looked good. He was posting up in the inside, using a fake handoff after the screen and then driving to the basket. I was like, Mitch said, I'm back. And I'm not mad at that. And I also think that the same way teams tend to put this whole, well, such and such player is most likely going to be out against the Knicks, and then they end up playing against the Knicks. I thought the Knicks did a good job of having Mitchell Robinson play against Memphis, right? Because he was questionable as far as we knew he was going to play this weekend, but we didn't know if Mitchell Robinson was going to come back and play against Memphis or if he was going to play tomorrow against Miami. But listen, I don't think Memphis was prepared for that as well, to have Mitchell Robinson there and his big stature just being in the paint. And while guys from Memphis were attacking the basket, Mitch was there. And that was a huge factor. And I'm hoping that having Mitchell Robinson back on his team rejuvenates this team defensively, gives them a new life, an energy. I heard OG Ananobi in a post game press conference, and he said that we need him. We need him. That was the last thing he said. We need him. And yeah, you do need Mitchell Robinson there. You need another guy aside from Towns, and then having Precious, who is not as tall, be able to come in and give you some contributions, to be able to be a defensive presence, and to be that guy who is, quite frankly, a lot more aggressive and able to get the job done and get you the second, third chance, fourth chance opportunities that the Knicks desperately need at times. And you know what? I have to say that I'm also liking the way that Tibbs is actually utilizing the bench. I like that he's putting guys in, he's giving them the playing time. It sucks, and I've said this before, but it sucks that what happened with Huck Porty, because Tibbs was starting. I didn't think that Tibbs was going to keep starting him with Mitchell Robinson coming back, but he was starting to get some playing time, and I'm just like, it sucks to see that he suffered that injury, that torn meniscus, I believe, in the left leg. But the fact that Tibbs is utilizing his rotation at a 10-man rotation, listen, I'm not mad at it. And I honestly think that Tibbs needs to continue riding on with this 10-man rotation, um, the remainder of this regular season, because you want to be able to get guys a feel for different matchups and real time game situations. And not only that, to be prepared for the playoffs. When the playoffs come in, this way, guys are ready. If their number gets called, staying ready is one thing, but also knowing that, listen, I played with this various different groups of guys outside of practice in real game situations, and that they can come in and help this team out. So I thought the Knicks overall, that Memphis game yesterday was a solid game by the Knicks. I liked what I saw. I liked the energy. I liked the hustle. I liked the quickness, the pace of the game also, because I thought that game I mean, Memphis in general, they play very high pace. But I just thought that the pace of that game was really, really good as well. Um, Memphis also struggled from the three. They were 4 for 31 from the 3-point line at 12%, which is terrible. And the Knicks were able to capitalize on that, knocking down threes. You saw Deuce McBride, you saw Jalen Brunson, you saw um, Carl Anthony Towns knocking down much needed threes that the Knicks needed, along with Campaign, Shamit, and other guys knocking down threes that the Knicks also needed. Um, and then the Knicks also out rebounded them 58-34. It's a rare That's a rare stat for the Knicks to be able to rebound a team, but the Knicks did that. They out rebounded Memphis, which was a good stat for them as well. And then the Knicks did finish with 29 assists, which was a good thing. The Knicks had 7 blocks, Memphis had 2. And one of the key stats for me that stood out was that the Knicks, well, before I get to that one, the Knicks only missed, they didn't take as many free throws, but they only missed 3. But they only had 8 turnovers. And the Knicks are a lot more successful when they keep it to 10 or less turnovers a game. They're a lot more successful in winning games because they're protecting the ball, right? Memphis had 18 turnovers. They couldn't protect the ball. And I remember at the beginning of that game, Josh Hart was driving to the basket. He kicked it out. He threw it to Brunson. It was just a turnover. And I know that's something with Josh. Sometimes he's too quick for his own self, but he turned the ball over. But overall, excuse me, I thought the Knicks did a good job. It's like the Knicks knew. They said, okay, we're gonna almost like a track star. We're gonna kick it into gear in that fourth quarter, and we're gonna take advantage and beat these guys. And the Knicks did a hell of a good job doing that. The Knicks did get outbeat in points in the paint, 74-44. This is something that's been a thing this season, and I think part of that is a combination of you don't have Mitchell Robinson, and I just think sometimes the Knicks lack the height to have those players who can be able to go in and give you those more points in the paint. You know, I spoke about this the last episode on Thursday. The Knicks don't really have those guys who could score at will. We have a lot of good shooters, but we don't have guys who can get in the paint like Jalen Brunson, get his footwork going, impose his will, and score at will. We don't really have that. Um, and we'll be able to address that and fix that, right? The front office is going to be address that and fix that. We have a lot of guys who we know can knock down shots because 2 years ago, that was an issue. We didn't have guys who could score. We got to the playoffs. We couldn't knock down a basket against Miami. We've addressed that issue. We have guys who can score. You give them the basket, you feel confident. And not to mention, speaking of confidence and speaking of trust, we just spoke about Tibbs using a 10-man rotation, which I believe is helping the Knicks to a great deal. But I was just talking, and shout out to Diva Locks. I was just talking to her about this on Thursday, how when the Knicks are in clutch situations, who's always taking the shot is Jalen Brunson. Nothing wrong with it. I'm very confident with him taking the last shot. And one of the questions that I asked her was, who would you want to be your next option? And she said, Mikal Bridges. I agreed with her. Who did we see take the last shot? Who did Brunson, because he was double teamed, he passed the ball out. He gave it to OG Ananobi, and OG, with the utmost confidence, as he said to Monica McNutt, I work on that shot all the time. He shoots the three, clutch, clutch time. That spoke volumes to me because that said Jalen Brunson trusts another one of his teammates to be able to knock down that 3-point shot. That spoke volumes, and that OG felt confident enough to take that shot. I thought that it was the right decision. I also thought it was the right decision. Also, the court vision to be able to find OG to be able to go ahead and make that shot. I just thought that that was just really good, well played basketball. Really good. I'm going to give the Knicks props when props is due, right? I'm not always here to critique them. I know I could be very harsh, and a lot of people think that my takes are negative. It's not that. It's because I see the potential of where this team, listen, this team has done a hell of a job this year. And I'm not going to take that away from them, considering they've done it without Mitchell Robinson. They proved it last year when they didn't have um, Julius Randle on the floor for the majority of the season. So I can only look forward to and get excited about the remainder of this regular season and the progress that this team is going to make going into the postseason, right? And I want to see the Knicks be able to capitalize and do what they did against Memphis. You down the whole game and you're able to come back. All right, not every game needs to be like that, but you're able to come back in and outscore a team in that fourth quarter. And it's not always how you start the game, it's how you finish the game. And, I thought the Knicks did a good job finishing out this game yesterday. And I want to see the Knicks be able to take it to guys and get even more grittier and tougher and down the stretch of games, right? And utilize that against Memphis, who is a top team. The Knicks have proven they can beat them, which I personally think Memphis is match and match, a team that matches up with the Knicks. And I've spoke about this on Thursday. I think the Knicks do a good job matching up with teams who are either at their level or a notch or two below that. But I want to see the Knicks utilize this as fuel, learning lessons, and to figure out how do you do what you did against Memphis and other teams you've done this against when you play against Cleveland, when you play against Boston. How do you OKC? How do you get past those teams and prevail against those teams? Because honestly, I thought the first matchup against OKC reminded me of this Memphis game. where it was very playoff style intensity style of basketball. The Knicks were close in that game, but I want to see the Knicks be able to capitalize and figure out how do you get past those teams, because let me tell you something. I'm no Cleveland fan, but it did everything for me and put a smile on my face to see the highlights of Jason Tatum and Jalen Brown telling Cleveland to get the F out of here because they was up at 23-3 or whatever the score was. And I'm like, well, first of all, it's only the first quarter. Talk your talk. But Cleveland walked that walk. Cleveland walked that walk. And honestly, I thought Memphis had that same mentality. They thought they had the Knicks. John Morant, another one. He annoys me. I like him as a player, but he annoys me. Very cocky, very confident. He think he in his bag. Blah, blah, blah. Okay, cool. Jalen Brunson, OG Anunoby, Deuce McBride, Mitchell Robinson had the last laugh. It's about how you finish the game. It's not about exactly how you start the game, right? I want to continue to see the 10-man rotation from the Knicks. I want to see Tibbs utilize his guys in full. I want to see guys getting the minutes. I don't want to see too many guys, or rather two, three starters getting 45 minutes every night. You don't need that every night. You don't. You want to preserve guys for when we get to the postseason. We had this issue last time, minus the injuries. Guys were gassed. They were trying to find a second win and they were pulling and pushing through. But I want to see the 10-man rotation. It works for the Knicks. I know that coaches a lot of times, and again, I know in the playoffs it may change. He may trigger it down to 7, 8. But to me, you have to utilize that 10, just because of the players that we're working with. And listen, I also hope that the bench starts to rejuvenate and wake up as well, right? I think the bench does a good job as far as when they're having to do defensive coverage, but I would like to see more offensive intensity from the bench. And, I don't know. I don't know if Tibbs switches it up, and do you have Josh come off the bench and give them a boost on top of that? Or do you have Mitchell Robinson come off the bench? I can't wait to see both Cat and Mitch on the floor at the same time. So I'm looking forward to seeing that as well. So I think we have a lot to look forward to. I'm excited about tomorrow's game against Miami. That should be a win for the Knicks. There's no reason why you should be losing to Miami, who again is one of those teams that it could be a trap game. So you got to watch out for those guys as well. But keep building up wins. Keep building up wins. If the Knicks can win the next, I don't think it's high hopes. I think it's very doable. But if you can win the next, I don't want to say the next in a row, but if the Knicks can finish off the season with another like 14, 15 wins, that's a pretty good season. I mean, because technically they would need to do at least 12 more games to surpass last season's wins, total wins, regular season wins. So I'm saying if they can do at least like 13 to 15 more wins in their bag before the season ends, then the Knicks, listen, either way, they're trending in the right direction, right? The Knicks are trending where they need to be. They're growing. They're growing. Where we saw the Knicks a few years ago, we couldn't even really have this conversation. And it started with front office changes, and then that trickled over to coaching changes, and this is the standard, this is what we're looking for. And then that changed into player changes as far as trading and moving pieces, and the Knicks is still doing that. And that was one of my questions I also asked on Thursday. With the Knicks at the end of the seasons, the regular seasons, if the Knicks, when the Knicks make changes as far as players, does that hurt the Knicks to some degree, or does it help them? I'm curious to know. And shout out to those of you in the chat. I am having my laptop issues, of course, so I'm on my phone today. I'm gonna get that figured out, but I'm seeing your chats come through. You guys, replies, and shout out to the replay gang. But I know a lot of times the replay gang, those who don't catch me live, you guys will leave me comments. And that's one of the questions that I really want to throw out there. And I'm curious you guys thoughts on this, because I get that right now the front office just trying to like, okay, we'll take this out and move this in. Okay, let's move this over here. And I'm talking about as far as players go, right? That's kind of like the phase the Knicks are in right now. They're like, okay, we're analyzing the regular season. We're seeing how we're doing. Okay, this player's not going to work, so we're going to need this guy. This is not, and that's fine. But I know when you do that, it does put the Knicks back, you know, a few steps because now they have to, that new player or players have to get acclimated. Then you still have guys who were rookies the previous season, and now they have to. Tibbs has to still build in that trust and add them into the lineup. And then as a whole, as the team, they have to figure out and find that continuity and be able to figure out how to work together and gel together so that they are successful in the regular season. So I think it does put them back a few steps, but it doesn't need to be nothing major. I don't see any of these guys who we have now, our main prime guys, going anywhere. Um, but listen, with the Knicks, I keep saying this jokingly, but it's true. The Knicks front office is like a really good reality show. If you miss an episode or a really good movie and you get up and you don't pause it, you're gonna miss something because they will hit you with a blockbuster set of news and you're like, oh snap, I didn't even see that coming. And, this is what the Knicks do, the front office does. But I continue to stand by my trust in the front office. And listen, whatever they do in the postseason, I'm going to support it. I think that I remember I said this before. As Knicks fans, we've thrown out players of like, oh, Vucevic and Valachunas and this guy and that guy. And some of us are like, oh, no, 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 he wouldn't work. But some of us felt that same sentiment when the Knicks, the rumors were out there about Carl Anthony Towns. We didn't think that he was going to be a good fit here. Some Knicks fans didn't like the Knicks giving OG Anunoby all that money. He's too injury prone. I think we have to just continue, as many of you constantly tell me, to remain patient. We have no choice but to be patient. I am fully aware that championship teams take time to win. It's going to take time for these guys to gel because at the offseason, front office has been making changes. So it's going to take time. They have to get those few years under their belt playing together to be able to go to the next level, right? Um, but right now, I think where the Knicks are and where they're going, it's looking good. I feel good about it. It's very positive looking. I'm liking the energy. The energy in yesterday's game looked really infectious. Mitchell Robinson looks happy. He looked like he was having fun. He looked like he couldn't wait to get back on the floor. The energy was just, there was something in the air. I don't know if it was the barbecue in Memphis. I don't know if they had some of that. I don't know what it was, but it was something about the way the Knicks played that just looked um like I'm liking what this team is doing. And I really have been liking what this team is doing. My only critique with this, biggest critique I would say with this Knicks team, has been the defense at times. The defense has to get better. In order for you to be a really good team, the defense has to get better. I'm not worried about this team offensively. Would I like to see the pick and roll more? Yeah, especially now that you have Mitchell Robinson back. Utilize him and Cat. I want to see Jalen continue to be more aggressive, not just because he's the captain, but you're the point guard. As the point guard, you have to orchestrate the offense. You have to verbally communicate to guys and let them know where you want them to be at. Call guys up when you need help, whatever the case may be. And that goes for the entire Knicks team. I want to see guys communicate and talk to each other, right? So I'm not sure I see some of you talking about the trade deadline, the March 1st. I'm not sure what's going on in that. I didn't really see anything before I signed on. I was doing my research. I try to look for things like that before I sign on and go live. But I wanted to come on here and do a quick recap of that Knicks Memphis game. I believe I have the Knicks at 2-0 for this weekend. Because again, Miami should be a game that the Knicks should be winning. There's no reason why you should be losing to Miami. And it's just about building and getting better each game, building upon that. Um, and listen, if the Knicks can be consistent. Because when the Knicks play good defense, it's really good. They just can't run away from what works. So if the Knicks can keep that same intensity like they did yesterday against every team now, just moving forward, you have to help now. Now you have Mitchell Robinson back. I still stand by. He can't be the end all be all. It takes everyone in to crash the boards. It can't just be Mitchell Robinson, Cat, and Josh Hart. Mikal, you have to get a rebound. OG, you got to get rebounds. Shamit, Cam, box out, Deuce, box out, get rebounds. But if the Knicks can continue to play defense as they did yesterday, moving forward and really put the clamps on teams, the Knicks are going to be even more dangerous, right? They're going to be even more dangerous now. So I just want to see a an effort, a consistent effort from this Knicks team against other teams defensively. If they really own in on that and really add that under in their bag, the Knicks are going to be very much a problem. And I say this with confidence, even against those top teams who they struggled against. Cleveland and Boston are beatable. Detroit beat Boston, for God's sake. They're a better team, yes, but come on. You can't tell me that Detroit's able to figure it out and you can't. It's going to take a better defensive effort. And it's also going to take, when I watched some of the recap from the Cleveland Boston game, I noticed how Cleveland stayed very poised. And I was texting Divalox about this morning. Cleveland remained poised and they didn't allow Boston to dictate their offense. They didn't rush. They didn't take these rush force shots because we're allowing Boston to get us razzled and making us forced to take one or two, maybe three passes and then just throw up a measly shot that we really didn't want. They didn't do that. And somehow Spider took over that game, which we see Brunson will do. But I'm trying to figure out where's the disconnect in that because we've seen Brunson play hero ball, and to some degree, it doesn't always work for us when he does that. When he's being too hoggish and he's trying to play hero ball and he's not passing the ball to guys because he's so focused on I want us to get this win. And when I looked at that Cleveland game, and I'm like, damn, I guess he had help. It wasn't just him. It was like other guys adding and with other ways. It wasn't just offense. It was defense. It was rebounding. It was many other ways other guys on that team was helping them prevail and get past Boston. And the Knicks are more than capable of doing that. More than capable of doing that. So, yeah, I think we can all agree that the Knicks are still missing some pieces. I said this on Thursday. I've said it previously to that. The Knicks need to capitalize on getting a guy. We need tall guys. We need tall players with wide wingspans. And we need guys who can get to the basket at will, no matter what defense is on them. I don't care what team we playing. We need a guy who you can give him the ball and he can get to the basket. He's going to either score or get fouled while trying. You see the way Ja gets to that basket, Brunson gets to that basket, Tatum gets to that basket, Spider gets to that basket. We need another guy like that on this team. It can't just be Brunson. We don't have another guy on this team who can do that, who can get you on the block, who can shake you off, who can get you off of him and get you salsa dancing and cross you over and get to the basket and get off a floater, get off a mid range. We don't have a guy who can do that. The Knicks need that. And hit them up, NYNJ. Salute to you. Boston isn't scary. No team in this league is scary. Every team in this league is beatable. Every team. So listen, the front office is watching. They're seeing, okay, what we need a little bit of that. And I'm hoping that that's the direction that they move into, right? Like we need a guy who can come here and he can get to the basket and get us some points when we need it. Not we already have guys who can shoot. You got OG, you got Mikel, you got Deuce McBride, you got Cam, you got Shamit. These are all shooters, which is fine. But we need guys who can also get to the basket. Everything can't be a 3-point shot, a mid-range shot. You need guys who can, I'm gonna get to the basket and pose my will. I'm gonna use my strength. I'm gonna get to the basket and not buck wild, but I can get us a basket when we need it. I can get us some baskets when we need it. I can get us some points when we need it. So I don't know. And I know a lot of you have been talking about TJ Warren and, you know, again, and I'm going to throw this question out there too. Okay, they bring him up to the Knicks. Is Tibbs going to play him? Is Tibbs going to play him? Tibbs just started playing 10 guys. Okay, so we'll see. Tibbs was doing that to who the hell was that last year that we had? Yeah, Paula Bonner. Salute to you. Said no. I'm in agreement. Tibbs has trust issues. He doesn't just loosely give guys time off the bench to come in unless the Knicks are up by 25. And then even then, it's iffy. Because a lot of times we've seen where 5 minutes left, he still has Brunson, Towns, Josh Hart still in the game. So I hear you. I hear y'all when y'all saying that this guy is good, he should play. But is Tibbs gonna play that guy? I think you have to be a really good player from another team, and Tibbs is going to put you in that rotation. But if you're a rookie or you're from the G League, Tibbs is not going to give you minutes like that for us to be like, okay, yeah, he in a rotation, he's getting some burn. Where? And I'm not going to knock Tibbs. Again, I stand by what I've said. I spoke about this on Thursday. Tom Thibodeau has been known to bring teams that have been struggling and bad to the next level. He's done that with teams. He's brought them to another level. He brings teams to where they make it to the playoffs, and he's quite frankly done that with the Knicks. The Knicks are now known as a playoff team. The haters will still say the Knicks are a one and done first round knockout. Eh, you know how the media and the haters don't like the Knicks. They're not a one and done. Stop it. Now the Knicks need to prove that they're not a second round knockout team. I think that's where we're at now. You got to prove that you can get past the second round. But Tibbs has been known, like he's done with the Knicks and any other previous team in his NBA career tenure, is that he can bring teams that are struggling and at the bottom of the totem pole and bring them up to that next level and they start to flourish. I think our question, can Tibbs bring us there all the way with all the tools in place? So with all the right players in place and a healthy squad, can Tibbs bring the Knicks to a championship? Another question I impose out there. Salute Nostalgic Nick. And salute to everybody in the chat again. I'm on my phone. So if I'm not responding to you or highlighting your chats, I see you guys. I appreciate you all joining me this Saturday morning. You guys could be doing other things, but you're joining me and getting ready before Ron comes on from Still Knicks fan. Shout out to Ron. I missed his all-star panel. I didn't get to join it. But shout out to Ron. Love, love, love his content. Ron and John, to be exact. And shout out to Corey Lee, who joined us on Thursday from the 718 Boys and Boulevard. Um, and appreciate you both as well. But that's the question I'm throwing out there as well. Do you guys feel confident we make some moves in the off season? It don't have to be nothing major. Because I don't believe that this team needs a bunch of superstars. That's not what I'm saying. We don't need that. But you get another guy in here who's a walking bucket, who's not just relying on 3-point shot, who's not just relying on the mid-range shot, but can score at any means necessary. No matter who's defending him, no matter what defense is throwing at him, he can score at will and get to the basket along with Jalen Brunson, which takes will take a little pressure off of Jalen Brunson because now he's like, all right, cool, we got him. He can get to the basket. He can be explosive, get to the basket, get us a basket, and he can get to the free throw line. So he can get that and one and get to the free throw line and hit free throws as well. We have enough shooters. We have shooters. You got OG, you got Mikal, you got Deuce. We have that already. You got Shamit, you got Payne, you got all of that already. We need guys who can get to the basket, who can be a problem for defenses. But now they're like, damn, we can't just sit and watch the Knicks because they're not gonna just play the perimeter. They're attacking now. That's the kind of guy we need here. We need guys who can attack the basket. So with the right players in place, how confident are you guys that Tibbs can bring this team to the championship with a healthy squad? How confident? Because I think it's possible. I'm not gonna knock Tibbs. It's possible he can bring them all the way. But I think one of the things that also needs to be addressed is the defense. Again, this team doesn't struggle offensively. They may have a night where they are off here and there, but the defense is going to make them even more of a problem. The defense is going to make the Knicks a dangerous team to play against for any matchup. So I don't know. I think that there's no lost hope over here. I'm riding with this team. I've rode with them through the bad, through the good, and I'm here. Remember when Randall used to say, New York, we here? I used to hate when he said that, by the way. I didn't like that. But I want to hear you guys' feedback um, on your comfort on the Knicks closing out the remainder of the season. I want to know your predictions for the Knicks finishing off this regular season record wise. That doesn't matter. No, I'm just curious to know where you guys feel like the Knicks are finished. I'm a firm believer they need to finish more than 50 games this season, right? I still stand by the Knicks winning 57, 58 games. It's possible. It's very much doable. And my biggest thing is the Knicks finishing off strong, remaining healthy, guys staying healthy, finishing off the regular season healthy, entering into the playoffs. Tibbs continuing to use that 10-man rotation. I think that's very important as well because we don't want guys playing so many minutes, finishing off this last half of the season, and then they don't have enough wind to get past the playoffs. The playoffs is a different animal, as we all know. They're a different animal. And the Knicks, you got to have the stamina and the wind and the right amount of guys to be able to do that. And this is why I say the 10-man rotation comes in place. I'm not saying Tibbs is going to utilize that in the playoffs. He's probably going to condense it down to, I don't know, maybe 8, 7. I don't know. But I think if you want to have fresh legs and guys that you can take in, sit down, put in, switch the rotations up, it's at your advantage against other teams. I know Tibbs is all for stay ready. You never know when you're going to be called, and I agree, stay ready. But I'm curious, like I was saying, how confident are you guys with the right pieces in place that Tibbs can take this team to the finals and beyond that? If you got the right players that we've been saying that this team is missing in place, how confident are you guys that the Knicks can go um to that next level? And what are you guys' thoughts on Mitchell Robinson being back? We know that right now the minutes are gonna be low, right? I like that. He don't need to play a bunch of minutes. We need him to stay healthy, gradually build up the stamina, gather his bearings and his footing. Do you want to say you give him 10 games and then you say, okay, now you up the minutes to, I don't know, 15, 20 minutes? I don't know. Do you want to see the combination of Towns and Mitch together on the floor a lot? Or do you want to see it at times and then you want to see Mitch coming off the bench to help that bench unit as they do need some help still offensively, to some degree defensively as well? But do you want to see Mitchell Robinson heavily coming off that bench and giving them a boost? I want to see Cat doing what he does, Mitchell Robinson doing what he does when they come in respectively. I would like to see both of them on the floor at the same time respectively. Um, but I kind of want to see that exchange, kind of like we saw last year with Isaiah Hartenstein and Mitchell Robinson. One guy was in, he did his thing. The other guy, okay, cool, my turn. You know what I mean? Giving the whoever was in a break. I want to see that. I want to see Cat, you do what you need to do. Mitch doesn't miss a beat. You come in and do what you do, and vice versa. And then when they're in together at times, because I think sometimes I heard Alan Hahn say this at one point when Memphis had Edie in and they had I forget the other guy's name. Jaron Jackson Jr. and it was someone else. And he said, I thought that Tibbs should have put Mitchell Robinson in with Cat. I thought that was the time. And I agreed. So again, I think that Tibbs has to kind of like, you gotta watch the moves that you make closing out this regular season as far as like, when do you utilize Mitch? Mitch is going to get utilized, but I'm saying he has to be strategic about the way he utilizes Mitchell Robinson, right? So I want to see both of them on the floor at times to be those twin towers against teams, to give teams problems. I saw a lot of those shots that Memphis had to put up. They were tough because Mitch is so tall and his wingspan, they had to like really arc those shots high up in the air to get them up. And some of them were a little lucky. Some of them, they got the friendly bounce on the rim and they were able to get the shots off. But I think that I'm really looking forward to seeing Mitch added back into this rotation. And I'm really looking forward to, and I'm having high hopes that this team gets rejuvenated, that they come out with higher energy defensively with having Mitch back. So I'm hoping it becomes infectious and they're like, okay, now we got a guy down low and now, it just makes guys revive. And listen, what I saw from Deuce also, uh, again, I'm hoping that we see more of that. I'm hoping that we see more of that. So I don't know. Also, I impose this question out there. Do you guys think that maybe Josh Hart should maybe come off the bench to help them out to some degree? I'm not calling for that. I'm asking. What do y'all think? Because I think in some games, I think if the bench is struggling offensively, a lot of times you look at the bench numbers, which again, yesterday the bench did really well. But you'll look at the bench numbers and sometimes between Precious, Shamit, Cam, you're not really getting much offensively from them that can make a difference. Again, I'm not expecting these guys to score a ton of points, but if you give us 1-3, a basket, it's not going to really cut it. That puts more pressure on the starters because now they're like, okay, we have to carry the load. The bench has not really been on tonight, so it falls on us. And it's going to happen like that some games, yes. But I wonder if there should be a change. And do you take maybe Josh? I'm just an example. I'm just asking. I like what Josh is doing. You need Josh also. Just like OG said in the post game interview that we need Mitchell Robinson, you need Josh Hart as well. And you know what? Listen, I've talked about Mikal Bridges being in a slump, right? He's been in a shooter slump. He has games where he can be on, like yesterday. He was off from the three, but he can contribute and give you something. And the game before last, he did really well. Mikal has one of the hardest jobs on his team, like OG. He seems to always have to guard the opposing team's number one guy. That's not easy to do. It's not easy. When Ja drove the first time against Mikal fouled him, Ja made the basket. The second time, and I'm curious, the second time Ja drove, he almost made that basket. He almost made it. I thought it was better defense by Mikal, but he almost made that shot, that kind of layup that he did. But I think that Mikel's doing a good job guarding guys. His defense seems to have tightened up, right? I don't really see him playing at guys' hips or along their side. Um, I think that's something that I still see Deuce McBride doing at times. And Shamit. Shamit gets caught and leaves his feet too soon. And then Deuce, sometimes he's playing so close up on guys, the smothering D, which I'm all for and I love. And then sometimes he gets caught because now a guy goes right past him. But yeah, I think Mikal and OG, we got to give them grace. Sometimes they have to guard the opposing team's number one guy, number one scorer, a top guy. So between those two, they're burning all this energy trying to play defense. Yeah, hit him up. We scored 34 points off the bench. That's the most this season. Absolutely. And I'm hoping that the bench could continue on being a huge factor for this Knicks team. I really hope that that's the case, that this Knicks team, again, you have Mitchell Robinson back, who's a vital piece to this Knicks team. I'm hoping that having him back will, you know, bring a different aura, bring a different vibe here. That guys are like, okay, we got our big man back, and guys just knowing that we're coming to the end of the season, you want to kick things into gear and know that, okay, each game we got to improve and continue to get better, which the Knicks are, right? I think the L's that they've taken are lesson learned, and some of them the Knicks shouldn't have lost. We all can agree that. There's been a handful of games by the Knicks that they shouldn't have lost, especially to some teams that they've lost to. MBM salute to you. He said, Ja is a beast. Bridges played him tight without fouling. Yeah. And this is what I'm saying. This is why we have to give him grace. He has one of the toughest jobs. It's not easy. Ja is quick, his agility, his ball handling skills, and then you gotta guard that. He can zoom right past you and get to the basket. You gotta guard that. Come on. Mikal has to do that every night. Cause it doesn't I've noticed that since he's been on the team. Tom Thibodeau's like, no, you guarded him. Oh, okay. OG, you guarded him. So it takes a lot. And then if they need help, now it falls on Towns or it falls on Mitch or Precious to have to recover and figure it out. So again, this is why I say the defense has to step up. Once this Knicks team steps up defensively, they're gonna be very, very dangerous. I thought that was a hell of a game yesterday. You were down all three quarters and figured out a way in the fourth quarter. The Knicks imposed their will. They were clutch down the stretch. They were aggressive that whole game, and they kept up with the pace of the game. I never once felt like they were out of control or that the game was, yeah, the Knicks, they're not going to win this one. I never felt like that. The Knicks had this focus. Deuce McBride was like, again, I don't know if he had the Memphis barbecue and then he went out there and he Something was in the air. I loved it. I love what I saw, and I want the Knicks to continue on at this pace. My biggest thing with the Knicks is seeing the consistency. I want to see this team be consistent. That same effort you put on defense and offense yesterday, you have to do that every night when you play. Even if it's a back to back, you're professionals. Some games you're going to miss the mark. I get it, but I want to see the effort. When we played against Cleveland and Boston, the effort just wasn't there. It was an embarrassing show. That can't happen. That can't happen. And I don't care if it's against Indiana, Milwaukee. You can't allow teams to come in and bitch slap you across the floor the way they did. That's what Cleveland did to Boston the other day. Treated them like a rag doll. So we've seen that Mitchell Robinson's presence makes a difference, right? It makes a hell of a difference. And this team knows, they've acknowledged we need Mitchell Robinson here. Mitchell Robinson is not the end all be all. He's going to need help. I want to see guys attacking the basket along with him. I want to see guys boxing out. I want to see the Knicks continue to start off at a good pace, right? Especially teams that like to get out, they start running, they're gunning, they're flying up the floor. I want to see the Knicks keep up with the pace. I want to see the Knicks come out in third quarters and have strong third quarters. And I want to see even stronger fourth quarters. Mean business. Stay tough, stay gritty, get stops, knock down the free throws because we've had issues from the free throw line this season. Knock down your free throws, limit the amount of fouls, limit the amount of turnovers because we've had an issue with the turnovers too in some games. Again, this is why I say yesterday's game was really good. Yes, the Knicks got dominated in the points in the paint 74-44, but they only had 8 turnovers. Memphis had 18. Memphis also struggled from the 3-point line. They was at 12%, 4 for 31. But the Knicks also out rebounded them 58-34. Shout out to Nick Yak. He said Celtics was up 20 in the first quarter over Cleveland and losing. Yeah. And Tatum and Brown told them to get the F out of here. Huh? Bitch slapped them on their own floor. So this is what I mean. It's not about how you start, it's how you finish. And I pray for good health for this team. I want this next team to stay healthy. We're going to need everybody in full effect, healthy, and ready to go for round one of the playoffs. Round one. Diva Loxon posed a question and asked me on Thursday if the playoffs started today, the Knicks would most likely be playing. I believe she asked me, was it Detroit? She asked me. She asked me how comfortable would I be with the Knicks beating Detroit in a series in the playoffs. I told her the Knicks would win. I told her it probably will come down to a 7-game, maybe 6-game game in that series. But I'm confident the Knicks will beat them. I don't sleep on any team. Every team is beatable, but I don't sleep on any team. And I'm sure this Knicks team is utilizing the second round last year as an example, as fuel. We had a man down situation, but Indiana also just ran the Knicks a buck. Granted, you didn't have Mitchell Robinson there. You didn't have Randall there. You didn't have a couple guys there. And guys were playing out of their positions. I fully get that. But I think with a healthy Knicks team, I still don't want to sleep on any team. I think that the defense is going to need to be locked in, and the Knicks are going to have to be ready. Because right now, fourth, fifth, sixth in the East, they're all close. They're all like 33 and 25, 27. They're all like neck and neck. And you don't know what teams may go on a run the remainder of this season and lock in a nice amount of wins. This is why it's important that the Knicks stay locked in third as well, right? Which I don't see them moving out of. And then you got to be prepared if you have to face off against Indiana, Milwaukee, Detroit. Um, I'm not really sure if Orlando or Atlanta would probably go in the mix. I'm not sure, but either way, stay ready because you never know who we may end up having a face off against that can give you problems. So I'm liking what I'm seeing. I want to see more pick and roll with Towns. And now that you have Mitchell Robinson, I want to see the pick and roll utilized more. It's very effective against teams. I want to see the Knicks rebound, including OG, including Mikel, including Deuce. I want to see guys box out and rebound. Don't just rely on Towns and Mitch and Josh Hart to gather the rebound. Box out, rebound, knock down our free throws. And listen, if your shot is not falling, please don't rely on the three. You can go in a little closer and take a shot as well. So ball movement is another thing I want to see. The Knicks are very successful when they move the ball and not allow the defense to rush them to take a silly shot that they really didn't want to take. So we'll see. The Knicks, I said it earlier, I have them winning tomorrow against Miami. And then I don't know if they play again on Monday or Tuesday. I have to look at the schedule. But I know there's a couple of games lined up. And then I think after Wednesday, they start their West Coast road trip. So, yeah, this month is going to be very interesting, guys. It's going to be very, very interesting. A nice challenge for the Knicks. That's what I like. I like to see them get challenged, right? And prove themselves, continue to prove themselves against the naysayers. So, we'll see. Huck Porty is out 4 to 6 weeks. Very unfortunate. I like Huck Porty a lot. Very unfortunate. And Precious is undersized. But he's been playing really well this season. I like what I'm seeing from Precious Achua. He seems a bit more aggressive than last year. Last year he was kind of like, we were like, yo, you right near the basket. He was missing layups. He wasn't getting the rebounds. He was allowing teams it was just a hot mess at times. Because when he started and he was implemented into the starting rotation, he played really well last year. And this year he's playing well. He's had games where his stats are not going to show up on the stat sheet. But the little things that he's done has made a huge difference for this team. The blocks, the rebounds, the steals, the active hands. And he also plays really well on the floor when he plays with OG. They're like buds. So, yeah. Let me know you guys' predictions. I'll be back on tomorrow anyway. I'm acting like I'm not going to be on tomorrow. MBM says switch Precious with Hart. Hmm. No, Nick Yak, we didn't see Precious at center yesterday. Mitch is back. I don't think you need to put Precious at center anyway. If you have Mitchell Robinson back, you don't need to do that. Thank you. Hit him up, NYNJ. He said Tuesday against Golden State. That's going to be an interesting one. That's going to be a goodie. I don't want to see the Knicks get bitch slapped. I'm not being negative. I'm just saying don't. What happened that last Cleveland Boston game, that can't happen again in the regular season, the remainder of the season. So we'll see. I'm confident the Knicks can get Huck Porty back. The Knicks have excellent medical staff. Tibbs seems to be allowing more trust. He's figuring out that you can't use 7 guys. You can't, 6 guys. You can't do that. You're going to burn Josh Hart to the ground. You're going to burn Carl Anthony Brunson. It's too much. 10-man rotation. I'm liking it. Yeah, shout out to Paul Abana. Warriors been playing. Yeah, ever since they got Butler, they seem to found the mojo. They figured things out. They seem like they're on a roll. They were struggling before he got there. So, you know, but that's okay. I'm confident in the Knicks. Every team is beatable. Every team is beatable in this league. Let's remain patient. Let's remain positive and confident in this Knicks squad. I will be back tomorrow. I believe the Knicks play at 6. but I'll be on tomorrow at 11 or 12. So look out for that. I want to discuss this Miami game. And I want to say thank you, everybody, for joining me today. I haven't been on a Saturday in a while. So shout out to everybody in the chat who's been joining me. You know, I normally shout you all out, but again, I'm on the phone. So it's like a little bit more to have to scroll through. But shout out to everybody who's joining me today. And shout out to the replay gang. If those of you, please, please, please hit the like button. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, subscribe to the channel. Tell a friend to tell a friend and tell a cousin too while you're at it. And then I'm sure those of you are going to go over to Still Knicks fans and watch Ron. Ron gives a marathon special. I commend Ron because he goes on for like 4 hours with guests. But Ron, salute to you, my brother, because I don't know how you do it for 4 hours. But there's always stuff to talk about with the Knicks, right? So shout out to Ron and Still Knicks fans. I believe he's coming on at 11:30, his usual Saturday spot slot time. And I will see you all mañana, tomorrow. I'll be on at 11 or 12 p.m. We'll be talking about that Knicks Miami matchup and more for the week. So lots to discuss and talk about. See you all tomorrow. Have a great day to your Saturday, everybody. And I'll holler at you all later.